Steinway decided to come up with this arrangement of overstringing that's in all modern pianos.
So these strings cross each other in this whole middle area.
Right, so the bass strings are about a quarter inch higher, plain about a quarter of an inch higher than the plain wire strings.
Right.
There was some resistance to it at first because it changed the shape of the piano. Some people thought the new shape was just ugly. The Blüthner piano that we have is a really odd duck. It's a path that the industry as a whole didn't take.
Right.
The difference is that it's essentially a straight strung piano like the Graf type of piano. They did adopt cross stringing, but they did it completely different from any other piano I've ever seen. And in that case, the bass strings are in the same plane as the high treble strings. And there's a section of 9 notes, sort of in the tenor range, that is in a higher plane and crosses over the other strings. And if you look inside the piano, there are just strings crossing everywhere, you know.
Let's go look at it, because
Okay.
I compare this as a comparison.
There's several things going on at once here. You know, the strings are not all exactly parallel to each other, but they're pretty close to, well, perpendicular to the stretcher here. You can see here that these strings cross over the rest of the plain wire section.
What do you think that does to the sound?
Conventional wisdom about straight stringing versus cross stringing is that cross stringing puts the bass bridge more in the center of the soundboard. It's a better position for it to be free to vibrate. We needed to do something with the treble of the piano, either to make it a little bit louder, to balance better with the rest of the instrument, or maybe just to give it a little bit more interest. There was this idea floating around that you could achieve that by having some portion of some strings that were not actually struck by the hammer.
So you can see these strings here on top just float above the strings that are hit, and they vibrate sympathetically. Some other pianos did this, but they were most famous for it. Debussy got a Blüthner in what I was 1904. And then had it to the end of his life in 1918. So that's 14 years at the end of his relatively short life. What's particularly beautiful about it is the kind of tactile quality. They always described his own piano playing as if there were no hammers. Quite a rare instrument, so a lot of people are excited that Cornell has this instrument.
So both the Blüthner and the Steinway are part of Cornell's rich holdings of keyboard instruments, and they're part of the Cornell Center for Historical Keyboards. So the center is going to include instruments ranging from harpsichords and clavichords and organs through forte pianos, and all the way up to a Polymoog 203A, which is our latest acquisition. There's a huge range of instruments, and in a way that the whole point is to make them available for students and researchers.
To have visiting guests and
exactly.
Residencies.
Have people come from outside, and also people from the Ithaca community be able to try them out and experiment with them and learn with them and have fun with them.
When I came 25 years ago, I knew of Cornell because of Malcolm Bilson. It's largely due to Malcolm's work collecting all kinds of forte pianos and transitional instruments that Cornell is really noted as a keyboard center. You know, when I go to other schools, they have all Steinways, and it's sometimes fine, but it's pretty homogeneous and it's pretty boring. And what's great about Ken is that he's lived a life of getting to work on all these instruments and having a facility that most piano technicians don't have and don't have the opportunity to.
So after 42 years, I've developed the perfect skill set for this job. Exactly.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see not only how music from a particular era was performed or imagined in its own day, but also how these pianos have stayed with us and have actually ended up, being used for many different kinds of music.
I'm not academic, but from my vantage point, it's so great that it's not an all Steinway school, and that part of what they're teaching people is what different kinds of pianos are good for, and you know, you can do Debussy on this Blüthner, or you can play Schubert on a piano similar to what he would have played, and that's just really unusual and terrific.